So thank you so much for coming on, Jodie. I'm really, really grateful. And thank you so much for setting this up. This is lush. I think this is amazing. Hi, Mum.
Yeah, and I'm super excited to talk more and explain more about Zumba and why I love it so much.
Yeah, no, and I think from our like social circles and like our lovely Thrive community that we're involved in, it's just really lovely to kind of get to know you and like what your business is about, and I've learned loads from just those meetings as well, and I just really want to learn more about how you've got into Zumba and what sort of like inspired you to become one.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty organic. I never planned it. So we'll have to go back a little bit. So I'll keep this short.
Yeah.
I've been dancing all my life since the age of 2.5, more or less.
Oh, wow.
So I did, the usual ballet, tap, modern, jazz. At the age of 18, I travelled abroad and I worked, doing various things like I was a cabaret dancer. I was a line dance instructor. I was an assistant entertainment manager in a hotel.
That's amazing.
So yeah, it was just part of me. I loved it. I loved performing. I loved teaching. I loved every different dance style. It just made me feel alive, just full of joy. I just loved the music, every sort of music. And then something changed. I come out of dancing and I opened a fish and chip shop in Mallorca. So I did that for 5 years.
Yeah.
And I stopped dancing and I just ate loads of chips. Yeah, so it was just like a total turnaround.
Yeah, it's like a massive turnaround.
It was, yeah.
Wow.
I was really busy with the business.
Yeah.
It was in a British resort, so we were open till like 4 a.m. So it was really unsociable hours. I probably was quite unhealthy with the stress, the long hours, although people thought, oh, it's great, you're working in the sun, how amazing.
Yeah.
It really wasn't. It was really hard work. So when I sold the business, I moved back to the UK. I missed my family. I'd been abroad for almost 11 years.
Gosh.
Just traveling, doing different things.
Yeah.
So I moved back, I had my daughter. So straight away, it was a really different, change of life for me.
Yeah.
And I had my daughter. Pregnancy was good.
Yeah.
But afterwards, I started to feel really like flabby and unfit.
Yeah.
And, the little pouch was still there. And I'm like, why is my body just not sprung back into shape?
Yeah.
So I thought, okay, I need to do some exercise. I hate the gym. I mean, it's okay, but I'm not a massive fan. It's not my first choice. And I saw this Zumba Fitness class and I hadn't heard of it before. It was pretty new. So this is like going back 14 years.
Yeah.
And most people were like, huh, what is that?
Yeah.
It just looked interesting. It was dance, based instead of like a fitness-based thing. I went along, loved it. Within 4 classes, I said, I want to teach this. This is so much fun. I feel like I'm dancing again. I thought I was too old to be a dancer, but I'm not. There's all ages that come. And I was hooked. So I became an instructor.
How quickly was that?
Yeah, so I went to 4 classes and just by chance, instructor training came up. It wasn't too far away. I went along, I did it, and then probably 2-3 weeks later, I started a class in the parish hall. I did a Friday night, which was a terrible slot, but it was the only one available, and I didn't know that was a terrible slot.
No.
But it didn't seem to matter. People were interested to see what Zumba was. And then within 6 months, I was doing 5 classes a week.
Wow.
And then within a couple of years, I was up to 11 classes a week.
So you mentioned like all that traveling that you did, and obviously your years of experience. Has that influenced like how you teach Zumba and like your kind of style?
Yeah, definitely. So I spent 2 years in Tunisia. So I love belly dance. So I love that Oriental vibe.
Yeah.
Even doing the line dance. I do throw a little line dance in the Zumba
I love
class.
country music.
Yeah.
So Dolly Parton.
So I think it's just made me really appreciate all the different genres and rhythms, and seeing how different cultures, have dance in their background, whereas we don't so much as a culture have that sort of natural hip movement, which I know you're really passionate about, getting people to move their hips a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. We have very chronic, very stiff hips. We hold all our tension and our trauma, our stress, everything in our hips, and we just don't move it. Like my husband's hips are terrible, but I've definitely felt, even after like I'm 8 months postpartum, and my hips were so tight after, and obviously that's just healing and scarring and everything. But I've definitely noticed, like just from like doing figures of 8 and stuff like this really helps. And then just getting that coordination just makes you more aware of that area of your body,
where you're holding the tension.
Yeah, absolutely.
You start to try and do a move, and I've had people come to the class and we maybe do a shimmy.
Yeah.
So you think, well, that's easy. You're just shaking your shoulders. But there's like, and like relax. You can't do it unless you're relaxed.
Yeah.
And then one day they're like, hey,
yeah,
look at
I
me.
know, absolutely. And I think sometimes like the fitness industry to a degree is kind of to blame for parts of it, not everything, because we are very much like, oh, you need to have this position and, you know, make sure everything's very static. But we're such dynamic beings, and that's really important when it comes to like our rib cage moving and our hips moving and our spine moving. Like when everything's moving, we get blood flow to that area, you know, so you know, things like pain, back pain, all of that can be really relieved just from doing movement-based exercises like that. But also just the joy of it can sometimes just make you forget about it. You know, it's not forget, but just reduce that, your cup being too full, and that's when you know, things like pain and it can be an issue.
It's mental and physical. So you know, you've got the physical benefits. You've got, you know, I would say that Zumba for me over the years, I've improved my strength without going to the gym. You know, I think that's great to go to the gym and do some weights too, or do some at home, like a combination.
Yeah, definitely.
But you will build muscle from just using, you know, the weight of your arms and your own body weight. Balance is a really important one. A lot of the moves I choreograph, so we are, you know, balancing, and you won't realize. But just those everyday things as you get older is really important. Such as like arms above head, bending down, putting your socks on, just replicating those actions, getting something out of a cupboard, which it's just functional fitness. And you know, your cardio fitness. You know, you do get out of breath. That's the idea of it. So there's so many benefits to it, and like you say, with the pelvic stuff. First of all, it makes people giggle when you ask people to wiggle their hips and, you know, do a merengue or salsa or a body roll. They're like, what? I've never done that before. So straight away, they feel a bit silly. And then they just do it and they think, oh, do you know what? Life's not that serious after all.
I know. Do you think there's like a lot of shame, particularly like with women, around being a bit like promiscuous or a bit, you know, sort of like shaking their hips and their bodies? Like we shouldn't feel like that's a shameful thing, and probably what stops women from doing and expressing their lovely hips and their sensuality in dance. You know, I think that's like across the world, that's really like part, you know, for Brazilian dancers, I'm like absolutely mesmerized by them when I like see them in heels and they're just, you know, and I like my friend, she is she's salsa, I can't remember now, but she's from Argentina, and she's going to kill me if I say salsa, because I don't think it is salsa.
But there is an Argentinian tango too.
Tango. So and she loves teaching and doing that, and I see it, and she's so serious, like in the way that she like dances with her partner, and I just love that.
It's an act, isn't it? It's like
like there's an act, and she can like be this not different person, but just like herself, and can really like get into the role play of it. And I just really admire that, because I think,
like I say to my ladies, where's your J-Lo, where's your inner Shakira, your Beyonce? It's in there somewhere, isn't it? You know, we all imagine ourselves dancing and we're like sexy and we've got the moves going on. And you know, one thing is, we don't have mirrors in our venues because they all say, we don't want to see ourselves. We want to be in our head. We want to be we don't want to be checking ourselves, checking our posture. Are we doing that? Because we criticize ourselves, don't we? So there's literally no one's watching. No one is taking a blind bit of notice. They're either watching me to follow, or they're just like closing their eyes and lost in the music.
That's probably a nice thing about your venue, actually, because it doesn't have mirrors and it's this lovely big hall. Whereas a lot of like gyms do have those studios that you're just literally looking at yourself.
And you're trying not to.
And you're trying not to, you know. And I didn't really think about actually the impact that could probably have when you are looking at us thinking, oh, I'm not as good as the instructor, or you know,
critical of ourselves. And you know, I say to people, okay, you might not dance like the person next to you, or you might not be able to squat down as low, but it doesn't matter, because you're here and you're empowering yourself, and you're better than you were last week. So there's no competition in my classes. It's like no judgment. It's just be yourself. Who you are is enough. As long as you're showing up and just giving it a go, it doesn't matter.
And I suppose that kind of nicely leads on to you know, sort of making adaptations or modifications for people with limitations, or you know, do you have like a variety of skill, like I suppose abilities that come to your class?
So age wise, age 8.
Oh, nice.
So people's children come along, grandkids, which is amazing. My daughter started when she was 6 or 7, and she's now 14. Up to, I think we've got a lady in her 80s.
Oh,
so
love it.
I would say there's all ages, but it's quite an older age-based group, and people are surprised when they come along and say, well, I don't know if I can keep up. And then they look around and they say, oh, okay, it's for everybody. We've got people with learning disabilities that come along. So it does, we've had blind people do it.
Amazing.
Deaf, Down syndrome, learning disabilities, and it's absolutely for everyone, because everyone can feel the joy of dancing and movement.
Definitely.
So I would say to people worried, like, is it for me? I don't know, I've had a hip replacement, or I don't have coordination, or I'm really shy. Like, just give it a go.
No, that sounds
because
amazing.
literally anyone can do it, and I think that's why Zumba's so popular, and I think that's why people stick with it. Because they feel accepted, they're just doing it for themselves, and there's no rules, and there's
don't give Zumba all the credit. Like, I think it's probably your personality as well that people come back.
I mean, we do have like a wonderful community, and also I would say, if you go to a Zumba class and maybe you think, oh, I'm not sure, try a different one, because it's like with anything, you've got to gel with the instructor. And my classes are quite dance-based, because that's my background. We do all the fitness moves, but you might not notice them because we're like doing some flouncy arms, or we're whooping and clapping and cheering. So there's definitely going to be a Zumba instructor out there for you.
And so the other specialty, or I suppose not specialties, but approaches are being more kind of like fitness, strength exercise, like in it. So like lunges or squats and stuff. It's a bit more obvious that you're doing like typical exercise, if that makes sense.
Because the thing with Zumba is there's no set routines. So it's you can either use the Zumba formulas, the Zumba routines, so you get those, and that's like a standard. But ever since I've started, I've always choreographed my routines. So that gives me the freedom to look at my audience, look at my age group or ability level, and see what they like. And over the years, I've tested stuff out, and sometimes I'm like, that didn't go down too well. That's okay. Or I know they really love a Bhangra or a Bollywood, or so it's just something I've tweaked over the years, and got such a lovely community.
And what I love about you, and why I was so keen for you to be on the Be Lively Club, is because you are very holistic, and you do lots of stuff. You do like cold water therapies, and talking about all the other aspects of like people's well-being. It's not just about that.
It's a whole parcel, isn't it?
Definitely.
And over the years, I was diagnosed with an underactive thyroid. So when I had my daughter, so it all came sort of to a head where I was battling with the symptoms. I just thought it's because I'm tired. I've had a baby, and then as I delved a little bit deeper, I discovered, no, I don't have to live with this. I can fix it, but I needed to advocate for myself. So I couldn't just go to the doctor and say, give me levothyroxine, and that's going to make it all better, because it's a magic pill, they say, but you can't just take the pill and expect to feel better. So over the years, I've explored, different ways to reduce inflammation in the body. And I think dancing is a great way, because it's a really good de-stressor. And obviously keeping your body fit and healthy.
That's a massive driver for inflammation that people don't often think about. They always think it's often what they're putting in their bodies, which it definitely is in terms of eating. But stress is a massive one.
So you've got your eating, you've got what you do with your body, how you exercise it, and then you've got your like relaxation time. So I'm really big into meditation. And you probably smell the incense in here right now.
It's so relaxing. I feel so relaxed before I even got like sort of settled. But
we've always got some meditation chime music, some lovely choral music, and it just really sets the tone for the day. And like you say, we've been exploring the cold water dips, immersions, and it's refreshing, as you know, because we had a little swim together. But in terms of just that feel good, that vitality, that sort of alive feeling.
Definitely.
I don't know about you, Emily, but if I start something like, I'm eating really well, and I'm taking care of myself, and I'm sleeping well, I'm just more inclined to keep that going. I'm spiraling up instead of just getting into a negative phase of,
because anything you do, like even when you notice patterns like coming back, like habits, sometimes you don't have to think all or nothing mentality. You can just go like, well, okay, tonight I don't have the time to cook a nutritious meal, but I can maybe put the fire on and put some incense burners on and just like create a relaxing evening, and with no judgment, no shame, and just do what you can. Like every day is a new day as well, isn't it?
Exactly. So, and it doesn't matter what you do as long as you just do a little bit of something, and then in your head you feel positive because you're like, I know there's something wrong. I know I have to maybe eat better or take care of myself. And then when we don't do that, we feel disappointed in ourselves. And there's just a spiral downwards. So I would say don't put pressure on yourself. If you didn't turn up to class, or if you had a McDonald's or whatever, tomorrow is another day. Just be kind to yourself. I think that's the most important thing women, especially nowadays, with all the pressures, can do. Just like have a bit of compassion for yourself.
And I think it's so important for women to get together, like in a Zumba class, like, because I think the energy that women have when they're together is incredible. And I think I heard like a study or a podcast recently where they said like women that come together live longer, and that's definitely true in a lot of like those community that, you know, in like, have you ever heard of like the blue zones in the world?
I've been watching the Netflix series.
And I've definitely seen a lot of research in that, in how that's really impacting, you know, not having that Western influence in terms of like our food environment, you know, that, you know, we're kind of almost like, and the stress, you know, we're almost on this like hamster maze, aren't we, of, you know, not really being able to thrive because the environment is kind of fixed to a degree. You know, there's lots that we can do, but it is very difficult in Western society.
When I watched the Blue Zone, I was thinking, okay, so I've lived in Japan, I've worked in Japan, and so I wasn't surprised when I thought, well, they don't have a lot of stress. They really don't stress about stuff.
No.
And it's all about family and community. And, you know, there was a 105-year-old woman balancing something on her head, and singing and dancing, and it was like, what? But that's really what I wanted to incorporate with Zumba. So over the years, it's just grown and grown. We started off doing like, oh, does anyone want to come down to the pub on a Friday night or out for a meal? And then, you know, people would start to form these friendship groups.
Nice.
And, you know, they're lifelong friends now. There's people that they go on holiday now together, and they've met through Zumba, or they, you know, had babies together and gone through that journey. So that was my main thing, to feel like it wasn't just a class. When people turned up, they could say, oh, hey, how you doing? And instantly people are meeting, hugging. And not only that, when new people come along, it's so sweet because people will identify them and go, oh, I don't think I recognise them. And I will notice people going up and just going, hey, how you doing? And that makes such a difference when you go to a class for the first time.
Definitely. And I suppose, you know, that's probably a highlight of what you do, but is there any like particular story, like of an individual? You don't have to say their name or anything, but
I you know, mine.
But just that's really like gone, this is why I do what I do, you know.
I mean, oh gosh, there's so many, honestly, over the years. I must have taught like thousands of women, but I've had so much great feedback, and I get so much back. You know, people tell me it's like the highlight of their week. Somebody lost 100 pounds, not just through Zumba, but through a collective, you know, fitness program. People have started Zumba careers, like 4 or 5 people that I've mentored have gone on to start their own fitness careers, which is amazing. One story, which I think sort of epitomizes why just doing it doesn't matter what you're doing. You don't have to go and do hardcore weights at the gym. You could do dance, you can do whatever. But if you just do it regularly, those benefits will really build. So I've got a lady, she's in her 50s, and she's a PCSO, so Police Constable Support Officer, I think it is. She joined quite recently, so she was like, oh gosh, I got to be quite fit. There's a bleep test to do. And a lot of her, you know, colleagues were young and seemingly quite fit. So when she did these bleep tests, she would just fly through them, and some of her colleagues failed them. And they were like, oh, what's the secret? And she's like, it's dance. And they're like, no, come on, what are you doing? She's like, it's dance. And you know, she's been with me for like 12 years now, and she's, you know, she's fit, she's active, she's like, you know, it's like an inspirational person that I look at my ladies and think, in 10, 20, 30 years time, I could still be dancing like they are. So it's pretty cool.
And I think it's really important to like highlight how confidence can really like impact that story as well, in terms of like, it builds the fitness, but if you're quite confident and you feel capable, doing that bleep test will feel good. You know, if you've got that self-belief, then that will feel quite easy. You know, if someone could be similar fitness but doesn't believe they can do it, then they can like get in their own way and you know, give up, you know, so it's like, oh, I'm not gonna do it anyway.
for ladies in particular, it's confidence. Sometimes say, I don't know, you've been out of work for a long time, or you've just had a baby, or you've been made redundant. So all these things really knock your confidence. So to have a space where you feel like you've got your tribe, they've got your back, and you can go and do a class, and you can whoop and cheer and sing along and be silly. And then maybe you go back to your corporate job. So it's just a release.
That's definitely true. No, I like that. So could you tell us a bit about where people can find your classes, what days of the week, what time they are, how long they are?
So
tell us everything.
So I'm based in Yate, and I also have a class in Coalpit Heath. I've been doing all of these classes for so long, and we have such an amazing loyal group, but new people start all the time, so you'd be very welcome to come along. So Monday and Wednesday is at Yate Academy. We're upstairs in the huge sports hall. It's 36 meters long. We've got loads of room to shake and shimmy, and that is 6 o'clock on the Monday and the Wednesday. So that's our evening classes, and we also do a daytime class at 10 a.m. at St Saviour's Church Hall in Coalpit Heath, just on the Badminton Road.
Oh, nice,
If anybody wants to come along, you don't have to book, which is another thing I wanted to do. So it just makes it totally convenient. Sometimes you don't feel like it, sometimes you do. You can just turn up. You can pay on the door. It's £6 per class.
Nice.
And you can also buy a class pass if you did decide to come more regularly, which makes it £5.
Oh, okay, £5 class.
And it gives you that motivation. You've got your little card and you get it stamped off. My website's www.gozumbauk.com. If you literally Google Zumba in Yate, Zumba with Jodie, my page will come up. I'm also on Facebook too, and there's little videos on there you can look at on my website. You can have a practice at home, but there's also a few bits on your platform too.
So I'm really excited about that. So Jodie's very kindly given us some, like a video, just do some basics of those movements, which I was practicing earlier before I got here whilst my dinner was cooking. And I must admit, like doing the foot actions, I was like, okay, I've got this. And then trying to add the arms in at the same time, I was like, okay, maybe not so much. but I can see, like, over time, just building that up, and actually, like you say, it doesn't have to be structured, it doesn't have to be like you can just have your own little thing. Everyone's bodies are different, aren't they? Everyone's got longer arms, shorter arms, so it is really important to kind of remember not to have that self-judgment. But what I really want to get from the Be Lively Club is just to inspire people, just having a taster of doing something like this, something that's different, something that they wouldn't necessarily go and put themselves out of their way to go and do. Because I've already spoken to a few of my clients already, and they're like, oh, I'll have to find someone to go with me. And I'm like, but you don't need to, like, just go, because I know you're super friendly. But I'm hoping that from just doing something like this on the club, that they can then go, oh, actually, I've learned a few of the basic steps. I'm not going to feel really out of my depth when I get there. So I really hope that anyone who comes to the club can do those tasters and then go to your Zumba classes, or if someone's away from this area, they could go and try their own local Zumba classes.
So if you go on the Zumba.com website, you can actually search for an instructor and pop your postcode in, and it will bring up all your local classes.
Amazing.
Hopefully, those classes that are popped on, they'll just give people an idea. And like you say, you took time while you were doing the dinner. You can squeeze it in any time. You don't need to have like an hour to do it. So just
it is nice.
Salsa while you're stirring the spaghetti.
Absolutely. But I'm always doing that anyway. My son must think I'm nuts, but I think movement is medicine at the end of the day, and it is very, very important to even just put it in your day at some point. But I'm so grateful for you coming and doing this and allowing me to come in your home, and just share the joy of Zumba.
Should be shared with everyone, don't you think?
It should definitely. But thank you.
No, you're very welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.